In this video, I'm going to show you how to put together the dual or double Android holder. So this is going to be a holder, a case, open case if you will, that holds two Arduino or similar microcontrollers. So I've already cut out the plastic, the acrylic, and we're going to be using some nasty glue, so that's why the gloves. And I've done just a little bit of assembly here before I thought, hey, make a video of this. So we have our uprights, our base, our top piece, and a couple of spacers. So this version is going to be the version that has spacers for the Arduino, nylon spacers instead of the plastic spacers for 440 bolts to fit into. The other case goes together basically the same way, minor adjustments, but once I show you this, you should be able to put together either of them just fine. So, in this case, no pun intended, we are going to use number 6 screws. And these spacers are used to keep the bottom plate, I'll get that back in here so you can see it, the bottom plate from touching whatever it's attached to, because the nylon spacer will go through the board and stick out the bottom side. Okay. I just went and got one of the spacers, and this is what I'm talking about. Oh, it almost focused there. I was having this trouble before, so I stopped the tape. Stopped recording and have cut that out. Oh, come on. You can briefly see it anyway. So, that's the kind of spacer, and that fits into your holes here. And then your Arduino sits on top of that. So those hang out the bottom just a wee bit. You can see right here, there's just a little bit there that's hanging out. So we need to have this spacer. So the screws that I made this for, to hold it in, to attach it to your workpiece, is a number 6 screw. In this case, I'm using a 3/4 inch screw, and so that's what I'm just using to hold it in. So what we're going to do first, if you haven't already, wipe your plastic acrylic down with a lint-free towel. I used the so wonderful blue shop towels, which are not lint-free. So hopefully this still works. It will. It just won't look quite as pretty. Okay. So we've got those, all 4 of them in. And we're just going to line them up a little bit. We'll see if it stays there without, nope, okay. So we'll fix that in a minute. So I already have my applicator ready with the acrylic glue that I'm going to use. You don't have to use this stuff. You can use something else. You can use CA glue, super glue, whatever you feel comfortable with. This is some Flexifile Plastaweld that I just got from Hobby Lobby. And so it is some super thin stuff. They call it water thin. And it goes on with a needle applicator. It's kind of nasty stuff, so that's why the blue gloves. And so this stuff, let's see if this will focus this time. Methyl chloride, yeah, not good stuff. You can see that it has taken the ink right off the label there and smeared it where I've touched it. So, yeah, nasty stuff. But you can get it at Hobby Lobby, and it comes in a second sealed container, because that stuff evaporates pretty quickly. So, oops. Back on with the build. So as I was saying, it applies with a very fine applicator. With this stuff, you will want to squeeze in a little bit, turn the bottle over, and as you do that, you want to release pressure so that as it turns over, it's not running out of the applicator like it did when I first turned it over. So, as you can see, I am not the world's greatest at this, but I digress, and we continue. So, since this isn't standing up on its own, I am looking for something I can prop this up on. Ah, yes. Another piece of acrylic. Works for me. So, let's turn those so they're parallel with the sides, just so it looks nice when I'm done. This is translucent blue, color I really enjoy. Oops, put a little too much on there, can't tell if you can see because I'm looking at what I'm doing instead of what I'm showing you. So with this stuff you need just a little bit. You can reposition it after a short while, or you have just a short while to reposition it. And okay, so I've hit all four corners. This stuff dries almost immediately. So what we have here you can see just a little bit of where I've put too much on, but in this case it doesn't really matter. It's on the bottom, you're not going to see it, and even that short of amount of time should be just enough to allow it to set. So this kind of stuff sets up in just a few minutes. So I'm carefully backing the screw out. After 24 to 36 hours, I don't know this stuff specifically, but it should have about 80% of its strength. But for what I'm doing right now, it has every bit of strength that I need, because I'm not going that far with it right now. Okay, wipe that off again. Okay, so we've got our base. In this case, the base has the screw holes and the top has notches so you can get to the screw holes underneath. I'll show you that in a little bit if you haven't already seen the pictures on my website. But most likely, if you're here, you have already purchased this or are getting ready to purchase the files to build this yourself, or maybe you're deciding that you would rather have me build it. So you're going to buy one pre-made. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to get the holes lined up between the top and the bottom so that your Arduinos are all facing the same direction. It's not necessary, but that's the way I'm going to build this one. So I'm going to set that over there and have them both aligned the same way. So next comes the uprights. That goes there, over here. That one doesn't want to stay up, and now I have a teeter-totter. Fun. Okay, not the best way to build this, I realize, but we're going to do it anyway. I've only built one of these previously, so you'll have to forgive me. So what we're going to do, we're just going to hold on to that down where you guys can see it, and then we're just going to apply a touch of glue. This glue, all you need to do is to put it into one area and it will seep into the other areas. So let's make sure it's straight up and down. And that should set already. Okay. Doing this freehand is a lot of fun. If you couldn't tell, I'm just kind of making things up as I go. Okay. I got the cement in. I'm going to let it sit here for just a second. Okay. It has the start of a bond. So now I use my handy dandy acrylic block that I was using as a stand earlier. It's now become my gauge for a right angle. So, yep, those are looking pretty good. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can either put the other side on and then drop this in and have it clip in without it being glued, or you can glue the top shelf on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to realign the holes again since I've moved this around, and then I am going to go ahead and glue the top shelf in. Okay, that's a nice tight fit there. And whoops. A little too much glue again. And that one's a lot better. Trick about this stuff is, if you do get a drip like I just did here, don't try and wipe it off. You'll just make it worse. So, now set this up so it's 90 degrees again. Okay, and yes, that stuff sets up that fast. So now, I can set this one in. This is a very tight fit. Trying very hard not to break the acrylic because this is fairly thin acrylic and it will break. Okay, I have that nice and flush on the top. I'm just tapping on the top of the block with my hand. Not a whole lot of force there. Alright, that's looking pretty good there. That's nice and square. That's nice and square. So, you can see one of the drops fairly quickly drying, and there it goes. There's another drop here drying. It's slowly going away. It's kind of interesting that it leaves just the barest hint of a stain when it's gone. And there it's gone. Now, it's not focusing real well, but there you can see over here, it's just got the barest hint of a stain there. And if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. So, what I can do now, go grab an Arduino real quick. I already have the spacers on the bottom here, and 4 of the spaces. So I'm going to put my 5th one in. That just snaps in. Line up my holes again. What I do, put this on upside down. Huh. Yep, I put it together upside down. Okay. So, oops. It's a good thing I have another one. Alrighty then. I hope you enjoyed this. So I'm back with the Arduino cases. I was going to make another one real quick, off camera, so that it would show you exactly the correct way that it's supposed to sit in here. However, using a darker material, as you probably noticed, this is translucent, and now I have translucent black instead, often called smoke. And so now I have to talk about tolerances. These little notches are made with very tight tolerances to fit into here, into your little notches here, so that they don't slide around and that they make good contact. Well, depending on your material, it may have different tolerances. The blue that I showed you before, it had pretty good tolerances. This is the same type of acrylic, but my laser cutter cut this black a little bit differently. So, instead of having pieces like this now, I have broken off the heads of 2 pieces, and so what I have done is I have taken a knife and I am reaming out the 2 remaining pieces. You can see this. I'm just trying to make the gap a little bit wider, trying to save these 2 pieces. And if I can't, I will simply go to the laser cutter and cut some more out. And that is sort of saved, although there's a little bit of a crack right there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some new pieces. I'll be right back. Through the magic of television, as they used to say, I am back. And I have found out a couple of things. So, for me, it was pretty easy to modify this. So now I can go ahead and just slip that in without too much problem. The thing that I found out using nice pair of calipers, okay, these are the Chinese version of the nice pair of calipers, but these are 2.83 millimeters thick. That is the smoke, and the blue is 2.71 millimeters. So it's not necessarily the machine or how it's drawn, it's the thickness of your material. These are supposed to be the same thickness, and being off by 0.15 approximately of a millimeter, it has some problems. So now I just have to, find the ones that I just made, and I'll be back in another second with the full thing made correctly this time. And so here we are. After a couple of problems, an upside down build, we now have an Arduino caddy that will hold two Arduinos. And with these standoffs, you can just pull that out, put that in, and the version that has all the holes in there for the screwdriver, those holes are unnecessary. This version allows you to get to the screw holes down at the bottom with much greater access because of those little notches right there. So I'm going to include all versions of this in the digital download. I'm going to give you an option to purchase the correct build of the standoff version or the correct build of the one that uses screws. So it's up to you what you want. I have found in the screw case that the screws are really hard to get into, but these standoffs are pretty hard to find. I had to, this set that I have, I had to go to eBay. There's a Spanish site, like legitimately in Spain, that sells these things. It took a couple of weeks to get in. If you're not willing to wait that long, you can always use extra long case screws, and the other version, they are 440 screws. So if you can find some of that in a hardware store, then you're good to go. But this version is much cleaner looking, fewer holes. The standoffs are just much easier to use. So there's your options. And whether you have decided to make me build it because it's too hard for you to build, or simply by all of my mistakes, or you don't want me to touch yours because of my mistakes, that's also up to you. But it really doesn't take a whole lot to build this, and you can rest assured that any mistakes that I make on building one of these is not going to be shipped to you. You are going to get something nice and clean and well made, like this one has turned out to be. I will clean it up before I send it to you, because there's nothing like getting something that's crusty with sawdust and lint and all kinds of other machining materials that shouldn't be on your piece. Yeah, that's never fun. So I'm going to try my best not to send that kind of stuff to you. So, off to the races.